Hey, Shalom, Marcus, Rakam, Akapash from Jim Stalin, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Kwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful that pushing his truth and sincerity. Back again with another video. I got this article here from the Telegraph. You got this guy called Bob Seeley, who is some sort of prominent MP. I'm pretty sure it says at the bottom somewhere. Yeah, Bob Seeley is an MP for the Isle of Wight and sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He has a PhD in Russian military strategy, right? So he thinks he knows what's going on, right? He thinks he's smart, right? So he's come out with this article here that Vladimir Putin is preparing to attack the UK, right? Based on what he's observing, obviously, because he's a PhD, right? And he might be right. I hope so, despite living in the UK, right? This is the deployment of these spy ships is chilling. Cold, scary. And by the way, whether this is all true or not, we don't know exactly. But what it does play into is the wars and rumors of wars, right? The saber rattling that is continuing and escalating, to bring around this World War III, right? Tensions are mad crazy with the world and Russia, over this whole Ukraine thing, and those the tensions are already increasing. And who was it that joined NATO recently? Was it Finland? I think it was Finland, right? Joining NATO, again increasing the threat on Russia's borders and whatever. All right, so tensions are increasing, and it's going to bring around, eventually going to bring around this World War III. But at this moment in time, it's still wars and rumors of wars, right? And everyone's speculating on what the Russians are going to do, and what they're doing, what they're doing behind the scenes, and whatever, man. And there's a bunch of whole propaganda going on from both sides, right? So this is nothing but fueling that fire and saber rattling. So let me just grab this quickly. Matthew 24 verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, right? And this is what we're seeing. Okay, but it's not a fully live event just yet. If you understand what I'm saying, right? And there shall be famines, okay, which is what's happening in the earth right now. Famine is increasing. The lack of availability of food, okay, is becoming more and more of an issue in these times, right? Pestilences, plagues, right? An earthquake. Well, had an earthquake there in Turkey, right? Just mash up a bunch of people. You got them, man, down the west coast of America, man, talking about holes in the ocean floors and the potential of a fucking fault line earthquake of 9, 0.9, 0.9 magnitude and all that kind of business. So yeah, man, there's great earthquakes to come, man. Still, okay, the great earthquake is coming, right? But there's earthquakes in the world, just like these prophecies are saying, right? It says, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? So these are signs that we're meant to be paying attention to, right? So having this dude now, Bob Seeley, come out and bring this out in an article or whatever, man. It's just continuing that saber rattling, man, to kind of build those tensions up, right? And I'm not gonna read this whole article because it's a bit lengthy, right? But the point is, them man are putting it out there. Look, the Russians are dangerous. Okay, we need to do something about it. We're not ready for an attack. We need to do something about this now. Right, that's the basic of the article here, right? So I'm gonna read some of this, right? It says that so the deployment of these spy ships is chilling. So Russia, Putin's spying on everybody apparently, probably is, whatever. So are they, so is everybody else, right? Britain is far from ready to counter whatever he has planned. So on one hand, you got West propaganda saying, "Oh, the Russians are incompetent. Look at what they're going in Ukraine now. They're just failing and failing and failing and failing. All this failure, right?" But at the same time, you got other guys here saying, "Well, we're not. If Russia do something for us, we're not even going to be ready. We're just going to fall into their hands essentially. So they can't be that fucking incompetent, right? So you got a whole bunch of propaganda from both sides going on, right? So it's hard to know, to really know what's going on in these different nations and what's really at play. But we just follow the scriptures and the prophecies, man. Okay, that's the only sure thing, right? Since for a long time it was only speculation. So now we know for certain. So he's saying we know for certain, right? That he knows for sure. Russian spy ships are mapping wind farms and key cables off the British coast. There can be only one reason for this: to learn how to sabotage UK and European critical infrastructure in the event of a full-scale war with the West. Yeah, because it's in the prophecy. They're gonna go head to head with the beast, okay? America, NATO, right? They're gonna wage that war against the West eventually, you know. And whatever circumstances leads to that happening, okay, is whatever it is. Okay, we know the least of the flock shall draw them out. We know, these small hats, they're gonna be involved in some form or fashion, whether it be political or militarily, whatever the situation is, you know, they're gonna be behind why it's happening because the elites who are the small hats, okay, are running shit, man. They're the one that wage war in the earth. Right, it's good to say, the red horse that taketh peace from the earth. They're out here waging war all the damn fucking time. Okay, they got a great sword and which is these nuclear weapons and blah blah blah. Right, so they're gonna play their part, obviously. You know, so we just have to wait and see what catalyst spark this off. Because we know all these things are part of that. The Russia Ukraine thing. They're all stepping stones to creating that situation. But there's gonna be something that's gonna kick it off for real. Says the sobering truth is that our potential adversaries, Russia in the west and China in the east, are gearing up for a wider conflict. That does not mean that conflict will happen. Oh, okay. That does not mean conflict. That it's like, let me read it again. That does not mean that conflict will happen. Preparation makes it less likely, but we must urgently recognize the extent of the threat to the current order, right? Because but they're changing that anyway, right? But what they mean is they don't want to be taken out by China and Russia, right? And have them establishing their order, okay? Which ain't gonna happen anyway, right? So our world is becoming markedly more dangerous, and Britain is not ready, right? And there was another article that came out a little while ago that our armed forces here in the UK are like, B rating, like third rating or some shit. Like they're not even a top military might or anymore. Like, and we all knew this, man. Like, even America's not even, as much as they spend on their fucking military, they're not the force they were. No matter how much money they're spending on it, they're uh, less competent. Let's put it. Because another other article that I read, when the Americans and the British were doing some joint operations, man, they're doing like a, well, I say joint operations, more like it seemed like a competition to do something, right? And then the Americans were badly beaten, right? Embarrassing so by the British. So if the British are not even a top tier army anymore, then America was fucking even worse. It's just that they got all the fucking aircraft carriers, they got all the fucking jets and all that shit, right? So that makes them formidable because they got so much fucking such a big armory and ammunitions and all that shit. You know what I mean? But as an actual military, functionally, like manpower wise, they're very competent, man. As much as they like to harp on about Russia's incompetence. I mean, America ain't any fucking better, man. They had to duck out of Afghanistan. It's been a fucking complete embarrassment, really. But yeah, these armies are not as potent as they once were. Let's put it that way, right? Since our collective response over too much of the past 15 years was one of denial, oiled and encouraged by Russian money and influence. So basically, they were getting paid out because Russia was helping them do shit. So they didn't want to acknowledge the fact that there could be this enemy, blah, 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 blah. Says war in Ukraine opened our eyes. Just this week, Cabinet Office Secretary Oliver Dowden gave us an unprecedented warning of cyber threats to our national infrastructure. And Defense Secretary Ben Wallace has been consistently robust, but there's much more we can do. Some of our closest allies, such as Poland, are rearming on land at an unprecedented rate. Were the worst to happen, they will be ready to defend Europeans, and get fucking crushed, get trampled on. Right, and this is what all these, that's what these nations are doing. NATO, right? They have these other smaller nations that are closer to Russia joining up, man, just so they can be like a fodder, a buffer zone before they get to real Europe. I mean, the actual powers, Britain, France, Germany, and Spain and whatever, right? They got these fucking Polish dudes and these Eastern Europeans as a buffer zone, man. So fucking when Putin comes around with the tanks, them men are gonna get trampled on. But Britain and that, they're gonna be alright for a little while longer, right? So yeah, they want those buffer zones. It says Russia is probing for European vulnerabilities. Apart from through the daily critical requirements of modern society are energy and communications. The underwater arteries of modern civilization are surprisingly few. For example, just 3 pipelines deliver 43% of our baseline gas supply. 5 interconnectors deliver electricity to and from the UK and Europe, and one more between Britain and Ireland. There are more communication cables, about 70 in all, but a relatively small number of deep sea sabotage operations could bring our world to a halt without a shot being fired. We were assured that wind farms would bolster our energy security, but few considered their military exposure. And like I said, there's a whole fucking bunch of problems with this whole green agenda, man. Which, like I said, it's done on purpose. But obviously, we didn't think about that. All these shortfalls. Oh, yeah, get electric cars. Oh, we didn't think about this, and that, just more and more problems, right? Well, like I said, this is a failing kingdom. These are shitty ideas in the first place. Um, right, so that's all I'm gonna really read on that. Oh, I might read this last bit. It says, my fear is that Putin is gauging options to attack the West. Should he wish to escalate without triggering a NATO military response, by doing this they call it covert stuff, right? Not overt. So it's not direct war. It's damaging infrastructure, like secretly. That's what they're worried about, because it wouldn't necessarily trigger a military response, like it's gonna say, right? So should we wish to escalate without triggering a NATO military response, how would the UK or NATO respond to shadowy groups conducting cyber attacks across the UK or Europe that result in physical damage or destruction of fuel shortage depots, or a series of unexplained glitches or failures on underwater cables? Would a military response be feasible? As Admiral Tony Radakin argued last year, we still don't know who sabotaged the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Could we really risk war on suspicion? Putin knows this, right? So it's a game of chess everyone's playing, right? Like I said, it's Sabre Rattling for now, but that's all part of the science. All right. So here this is Obadiah chapter 1 verse 1. It says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord, concerning Edom, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Rise up against who? Well, beginning with America, right? But the beast, which is NATO, and UK is part of that too, right? These nations are a message of spirit's been put on these nations to rise up against her, right? And as you got people speaking about it, you got this, what's his name again, Bob Seeley. You got people talking, these rumors, spreading these rumors, and it's the spirit of the Lord working, to build up this sentiment of war, right? That conflict is on the horizon. There's gonna be conflict, all right, because that's what the Lord wants, right? Verse 2, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. People are looking for, people smell blood, man. These nations, concerning America and that, okay, they're looking the ways to hurt you, man. Okay, they know you've weakened, all right? And these these weaker nations, like these BRIC nations, right? Is it Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America, right? I feel like I'm forgetting one. No. They're making their moves economically, right, to become I think their GDP surpassed the EU bloc nations and whatever just recently or whatever, right? So they're making moves, man, to take away power from America, to decrease its hegemony, right, and decrease the reliance on the American dollar, man. All right, so they're coming for you, man. Right, you are despised among them. Right, so the pride of thy heart has deceived thee, thou art dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saveth in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Right? So, beginning of America don't ever believe that anyone's gonna, no one's big and bad enough to take them out, you know. But Britain are like, oh, because they've been weak for ages. They just been fronting because they got America on their side, man. But America, nah, they come with that pride. They will never talk like America's the greatest military on the earth. They don't. That's not in them. All right. Revelation chapter. Oh, actually, hold on. Before I get there. All right. Ezekiel 38 verse 2, right? It says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog. Actually, before I even get that, Revelation 20 and 8, right? And this is what Esau would do. Okay, being put back into power after during the Renaissance period, after the fall of Rome. Okay, I'm just gonna jump to this quickly. I'm not gonna break the rest of it down right now. It says here, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, right? And this is what Esau's done now. He's in power. Spread deception around the earth, right? Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. Gog and Magog represents Russia in the scripture, right? They dwell in that land area, right? To gather them together to battle. The number of whom is the sand of the sea, right? So it's prophecy that Russia will be drawn into war with Esau, with America, okay, and the beast, which is NATO and the EU, right? So they've been drawn out to fight, okay, to gather them together to battle, right? So let's go Ezekiel 38 here, right? And 2. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And Elder Apostle brought out a little while back that the chief prince, it basically is Russia, man. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but basically mean the head. Chief mean why have I forgotten the word for head? Heading. Oh, it's lost out my mind. But Prince is Shah. Okay, I remember that much right this second. But for some reason I can't figure the word heading. But yeah. So yeah, Russia's actually mentioned here as the chief prince, right? It says of Meshech and Tubal and prophesy against him. Right? So, Russia's one of these nations that the Spirit of the Lord is upon, one of the main ones that's upon to rise up against Esau. Esau's main block, okay, which is America, okay, because they're all Edomites. The Russians are Edomites too, okay, but the Edomites that are in power are beginning with America, all right, and the Lord is using them to rise up against themselves, right? A house divided shall not stand, right? That's what Yahushua was saying, right? These are Edomites just fighting one another. It's the same with World War I and II. They were fighting one another, man. All right, so yeah, again, it's the same shit, right? It says the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal and prophesy against him, and thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, right? So the Most High is not with Russia per se, but he is using them to destroy America, all right, to be a part of that judgment, right? It says verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, right? These are just military hardwares, horses, horsemen. Russia gonna come through with them tanks, man. Russia got a lot of fucking tanks, right? They're about a ground warfare, right? They got a lot of fucking tanks, all right. They ain't got the air superiority like America got and shit like that, but they got tanks, so they can roll across Europe. Right, they can roll across Europe, and I said they got their missile tech and defense shield systems that they are well known for, right? It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, right? So they're talking about their allies now. Okay, China is a major ally of Russia. It says Persia, Persia represents Iran, the Ethiopia and Libya with them with shield and helmet, right? We know Iran is an ally of Russia. Goma and all these bands the house of Togama of the north quarters and all his bands and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself. Well, my man's talking about being prepared, right? Well, the Americans are getting ready too, man, to do what they need to do. Whatever the Lord gets them to do, they're preparing to do it, right? And these nations that are with them, man, they're on the same page. Okay, they're just, playing chess right now, biding their time. All right. So be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Right. So these weaker nations that are, allied with Russia, they've helped in the past, provided them with defense systems and whatever, Iran, Syria, and so on, right? So they played that role because Russia's not a weak nation. That's why America and Britain and that they, Europe, they don't just want to go in there guns blazing like they would do if it was Afghanistan or Iraq. They don't mind that because they're weak. They can just go in guns blazing and just topple man over. But they can't do that with Russia, so they're having to play it tactfully. Like everyone's trying to be standoffish because they don't want to. Well, they say they don't want a nuclear war to kick off, but we know that's where it's going to end. Because that's the purpose of this. This is the purpose of the Russians being drawn out. It says, I will turn you back and put hooks inside the jaw. They're being drawn back into that military hardline nation, man. And the West don't like it, obviously. Because they ain't playing ball. All right, so yeah, it's prophecy that Russia is going to be drawn into war with America and the beast, right? I'll jump down to verse 10 to get this point as well, right? Verse 10 says this, it says, thus says the Lord power, it shall also come to pass that at the same time things shall come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Right? Like I said, it's going to go nuclear. Eventually, America is going to be destroyed out of that in the World War III. Right? And a lot of places in the EU are going to get fucked up, man. So yeah, UK got a right to be concerned. Okay, but they're not even concerned about the military right now. They're concerned about the cyber attacks and the sabotage attacks that could go on. But that's gonna go without saying. That's gonna happen. All this shit's gonna be happening, man. To all these different nations. Yeah, that's the new way of waging war. Taking out infrastructures, man. Even though there's always been a strategic part of war, okay, they got new methods to do it. Okay, i.e. the cyber warfare, EMPs and all that kind of stuff. So jumping back, where was I now? Yeah, Revelation chapter 16 and 16, right? It says here, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, right? And this is where we get the term Armageddon from. Okay, this great war, this great destruction, this great judgment. Armageddon means, mountain of troops? Okay, warriors, soldiers. Okay, because the Lord is going to create a big war, hence World War III. Right, they're going to be gathered into a particular place, and that place is the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Right, and this is from Joel chapter 3, verse 2. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right, and I'm going to jump down to verse 12 here, right? So let the heathen be wakened, okay? Come up to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, because the Lord is, like I said, that spirit upon these nations to rise up against her in battle. This is where it's all going. Okay, the World War III, and like I said, it's only going to end with America's destruction, man. So that the heathen be wakened and come up to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Right, so they're all going to be powered in. The Valley of Jehoshaphat down there in the Middle East, man. That's why, those tensions between Iran and Israel, we kind of watch that closely because, these are where the army's gonna get called to, down into that region, man. It's probably gonna have to do something between those two nations, man, because they're always at each other, right? But yeah, the nations' armies are gonna be drawn down to there, right? Russia and all these guys, they're gonna be drawn down to there. America, these European nations, they're gonna be drawn down into that area, into the Middle East to fight a massive war, right? Where there's gonna be a lot of death. All right, it says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of his people, right? So even though there's all this man, because hey, I mean, there's probably not many survivors left, but I'm sure if you could, people have done, right? Speak to these guys that survived, World War II and whatever. World War One's probably too far back for anyone surviving still, but um, it was a dreadful time, right? Blitz and all this kind of people were fucking scared shitless, man. They deport the children across the country and all kinds of shit. It was crazy. All right. I forgot why I said this now. All right. Oh yeah. All right. So yeah, it was a crazy time, man. And so even though it's gonna be a crazy time, right? There's hope for our people, the children of Israel, because we're gonna be delivered from those events that are taking place, right? Meaning, we're gonna be protected in that time. Okay. So yeah, there might be bombs dropping in different places, and brothers might be close by or whatever. But the Lord is only gonna have us in a place of safety, or have us be at a place of safety, man, where these things don't um, affect us the same way as it's gonna affect everybody else. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be protected until the day the Lord, takes us up in His chariots. You know. So yeah. Um, So yeah, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So like I said, the Lord ain't the strength of the world or of all the nations. No, he's the strength of the children of Israel. We're going to be delivered and protected in that time. All right. So shall you know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through it anymore. The other nation ain't gonna get the upper hand over us anymore. Right? After when it's all said and done, you're gonna know who the Lord's people are. All right. Um, I might as well read the rest of it, right? It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth out of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Eden shall be a desolate wilderness, one in the same place. Okay, this is about one in the same place, because America represents all those things, right? Egypt and Edom, spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, spiritual Egypt, right? It represents all these things. And that's the place, America, the land of America is what's going to be destroyed. Okay, without inhabitant. Okay, it's going to become a wilderness, right? So Egypt shall be a desolation, and Eden shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. For Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. All right, so the Lord is for our people, man. The Lord's going to deliver us and destroy our enemies, man, for everything that they've done to us. All right. This is Ezekiel. Nope. Read that already. Okay, this is the last one then, I guess. It's Isaiah 47. Right. And verse 7, I'm going to read from, right? So, and thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever, right? And like I said, this is the, America. Okay, you are the pinnacle nation in this era, right? You don't believe that anybody has the ability to take you out of power because you're the mightiest, all this kind of business. That's what you believe, right? So you believe this, right? So thou hast said, or thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it, right? All this wickedness that you've done in the earth. Let me read up. Verse 5. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the lady of kingdoms. I was wroth with my people, is the Israelites, right? I have polluted my inheritance by giving them into Esau's hands and these other heathens' hands, right? And giving them into thine hand, and thou didst shew them no mercy. Esau's not had no mercy on us, man. That's why he you feel shameful. You almost feel shame, right? You talk like you have shame for all the things or the atrocities that you've done to, the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. You know, say, I polluted my inheritance and given them into thy hand. Thou didst shew no mercy upon the ancient, hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart. You know, no retribution was going to come for that. No recompense, no vengeance, right? Neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. So therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly. Because you just take shit for granted, man. You think you got it made, and nothing's gonna happen to you, because you're the biggest bully, right? That dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know loss of children, right? That your power is complete, in contact, right? You're not gonna suffer no damage. All these people are gonna flock to you because you're the most important nation on the planet. That's why it is now. Everyone kind of flocks to you because you make people money and you know technology and innovations and stuff like that. Philosophies. Everyone's flocking to you. That's why the presidency in America is the highest seat in the world. You know, but no more, right? It says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. The loss of children, because America is going to be destroyed. Okay, and everybody in it is going to be destroyed, right? So you're going to suffer a mass loss of children. And widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. All right? Because everything's been founded upon wickedness. So for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, right? As it goes on, right? So thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none is beside me, right? You thought you was a top don, top G. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And this is what my man was saying. Like, we don't know, if man can tap the infrastructure and we just find ourselves in a shitty situation and can't deal with it. He's saying we're not ready, man. Not ready to deal with any of that. It's the same with the Americans, because whatever in it, right? The same people. These Edomites, right? But America is their their head nation, right? So that so therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. Because you'll be caught off guard because of your pompousness, man. You think, nothing, ain't no one gonna do nothing. You're gonna get caught off guard, because you weren't taking your opponent seriously. And mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. All right, mischief shall fall upon thee, man, destruction. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt know not. Because the Lord said within an hour, Babylon the Great shall be destroyed, shall be burnt with fire. So stand now with thy enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast laboured from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them and shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. Right? Because again, you can be burnt with fire. Okay, all these nations, even your so-called allies, are gonna shoot those missiles on you, man. So there shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it, because we absolutely waste. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast laboured, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander everyone to his court, and none shall save thee. All right. So that's how that ends up, man. All this saber rattling that's going on right now leads to a World War III and leads to America's destruction. It leads to mass loss of life, man. Especially down there in the Middle East. All these armies, man, they're all going to be destroyed. And the land of America is going to be destroyed, everybody in it. Okay, saving the elect. All right, so, these things that, as much as people like to brush these things off, like, oh, this is just talking. Yeah, it is for now. But like I said, the rumors are all a part of this. Okay, until they become the reality, till they manifest themselves in what we know to be, the World War III. you know. So, with that, I'm gonna end it there. Lord, this is edifying, and catch you brothers and sisters on the next video, man. So, till next time, I say shalom.